Ladies, gentlemen, hello, Hope, hi, Light. We are doing good? Yes. How are you feeling? Everybody's okay. The time has come for, you know what? 4th chapter passed. We are perfectly ready for another reading section. That's right. If you are here, you're probably well prepared for the data log sequence, which is where we are going for the very beginning of the 5th chapter to cut it down to a minimum. And as soon as this episode ends, we are going to be perfectly ready to travel onwards with nothing else left behind. As usual, we'll begin with the recap of the events of chapter 4. Nothing but grief, as Lieutenant Amadar said. Their airship damaged during the escape from the army, the lessee are forced to make a crash landing in the Vile Peaks, a deserted land with a lot of Pulsian metal crap. Accustomed to the rigors of conflict, Lightning immediately sets off to outdistance any pursuit trailed by Hope. Exhausted, on the brink of despair, Saz cannot bring himself to follow. I did not see his despair. He was simply tired. But now the game says he's desperate. So yeah, probably this is something we should be attentive for. There is something that makes Saz desperate too. He knows the army will never stop chasing them. And even if they do somehow evade capture, they face transformation into Thief. How can they complete a focus they don't understand? Well, probably it's kind of philosophical question, because what is the focus of a human being in life? Nobody knows. Your focus is what you choose, right? If you choose to be a writer, then you just go. If you choose to be a Let's Player, that also is your choice, and that's your focus. Speaking about the Fal C focus, I mean the given focus, that's another pair of shoes, but if we are talking metaphors, that's what I think it is. In a different regard, yeah, I do understand his worries. I do understand how he is banged up and like pressed down to the ground by the terrible weight of this Hobson's choice here. Despite the futility of the situation, Saz cannot leave Vanille to fend for herself, and he forces his reluctant legs to carry him onward. So he goes on just for the sake of Vanille. Oh, alright. So Vanille should appreciate that. And give him some space to sleep near her too. Alright, that was a joke. Far ahead of the others, Lightning recalls a conversation with her old superior Lieutenant Amadar, in which he had warned her not to get involved with anything connected to the lower world. She, of course, subsequently chose not to heed his warning, and after confronting the Pulse Fal C, found herself branded as a lessee. Yeah, she did, because she, I think, during this holiday, during the fireworks, she already must have known about the fate her sister faced with. So that was kind of tough call for Lightning. She already knew what the things are going to. Now anger smolders within her. Anger at her transformation into a lessee, anger at being forced to flee like a fugitive, and anger at herself for allowing it all to happen. Yeah, so she also, that's kind of popular thing among any art, from books up to computer game and video game stories, that some characters blame everything on themselves and consider themselves to be responsible for everything. No, no. Once again, no. Lightning's not responsible. I mean, who knew about the vestige? Who could have possibly known that the fal'Cie would be inside and that the fal'Cie would be still alive and functioning? I want to question one thing, how Sarah ended up in there. There is no explanation for that yet, so I don't know that. But still, Lightning cannot just, like, follow, trailing after her little sister all the time so that Sarah doesn't get into trouble. It's impossible. You cannot blame such things on yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Do not make these mistakes ever again. I wanna be purged. Yeah, it's about Lightning joining in the purge train and deciding on this last journey in her life. It was not, of course, but that could very well have been. The Sanctum announces that the Pulse fal'Cie and any civilians who may have come into contact with its influence are to be deported to the world below. Yeah, I will translate these words to you. You are probably tainted by the fal'Cie. Go to hell. That's it. To the world below. Oh man. Knowing that Sarah is being held by the offending creature, Lightning reasons that the only way to reach her sister before they are exiled is to board the train and be purged herself. After coming to this conclusion, she acts without hesitation. She knows the risks, but there are some things you just have to do. Yeah. Sometimes there are things, and this ain't one. I mean, yes, family bonds, duty, and everything, that's right. Those are really strict and tough calls, but her heroism is measured not by the fact that these are the actions she had to do. These are the actions she did. She forgot about herself. She did not think that she could die. It is even irresponsible to a certain extent. What if she fails? What if not only Sarah dies? What if she dies as well? And she could go on. She could be still like beneficial for the world and everything. But she still decides on that. That's the choice. It's not the thing you have to do. She thinks she has to do, but it's not objective. It's her subjective view, and this is why it makes her a hero. This is why people like look at her and saying, hey, she did this against the odds and she is really a good person. But in fact, let's just critically review this, right? Let's just think of it objectively. As Hope listens to Lightning's tale, he begins to realize how different they are. He knows he doesn't have the strength to charge into certain danger. Even if he has no other choice. Well, the fact is that he still has. You know what they say? Yeah, unable to keep up with the battle-hardened soldier, Hope falls into despair. Well, but he still did manage to keep up. That's alright. He handled that. Yeah, about the choices, he does have the choice. He did have the choice to stick with Saz and Vanille. He did have the choice just to run away and hide. He did have a lot of choices. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, they often say we don't have choices, but in fact we do. We just simply don't like them and don't choose them because we don't value them or something, but they are still options, right? Meanwhile, Saz and Vanille fight their way along a different route. Like Lightning, Saz had joined the Purge voluntarily, but now he simply acts as fear and despair prompt him, his former resolve seemingly forgotten. Why did he enter that Purge train, then? So he did enter the train, like he willingly was supposed to get purged, and why? remains to be answered. That's an open question still. Hope and despair. As a resident of Palumpolum, Hope should never have been a candidate for the Purge. Yep. Sad enough. The radical government policy only concerns the inhabitants of the town of Bodum. Unfortunately for Hope, the Sanctum announces the Purge on the day they are visiting the coastal community, and the Sanctum soldiers rounding up the deportees make no distinction between locals and visitors. Bastards. The only word I have. Later, at the Hanging Edge, Hope's mother is killed in violence, which erupts when the true nature of the Purge is revealed. This indirectly leads to Hope's encounter with the Pulse fal'Cie and transformation into a cursed l'Cie. Yeah. Are you tired of me saying yeah? Yeah. Why should this be repeated all over again? I'm pretty much well aware of these facts, even before. It's like I'm reading this for a 4th or 5th time already. Now he rails against his cruel fate and curses the government that started the Purge, the fal'Cie who made him a l'Cie, the army that haunts him like a criminal. But most of all, he chokes on the hatred he feels for Snow, the man responsible for dragging his mother into the battle that claimed her life. Again, it's as though I'm reading this for, I don't know, 4th or 5th time. Saz wants to help Hope return home to his father. The boy shows little enthusiasm for family reunion, but Saz is insistent. He knows how it feels to be a dad. Yeah, that's a hint for the future. That is something we should bear in mind already. It's like a tiny, thin lead that drives us to be more attentive to Saz's words in the future and to his part in all this Final Fantasy XIII drama. And yeah, Saz wants to lead Hope to the family, to his dad, because evidently Hope still has the remnants of the family, unlike other members of our l'Cie team. So that's the thing. At least we should inform Hope's father about something. But seemingly Hope is not interested, and now he's with Lightning, and Lightning is not interested in any side trips because soldiers are on their tail all the time. Actually, even if they go to Hope's house, that may consequently lead the soldiers into the house, and Hope's father will also be put under danger. Why aren't they talking in these terms? I don't know. But, yep, now that I'm talking in these terms, taking in the trash. Interesting name for this. The War of Transgression, the conflict between Pulse and Cocoon. This is how it is called, the War of Transgression. I was interested in that question, what the War of Transgression is. It's the conflict, the mentioned war between Cocoon and Pulse several hundred years ago. A towering wreck is all that remains of a Loverworld airship shot down during the battle that took place centuries before. At that time, forces from Pulse attempted to invade Cocoon, only to be repelled by the efforts of the Sanctum fal'Cie. Though not before the invaders had rent a great wound in the floating world shell, which now is where is the shell? Where is the wound in the shell? The crack? It's where the Hanging Edge is. And there are ruined cities too. It's exactly there. Now they're using this for the Purge. Well, for the the nefarious purposes of the Purge. Though Sanctum fal'Cie subsequently repaired the damage using debris from surface of their routed enemy's planet, the psychological wounds inflicted by the conflict are evident even now in the Cocoon citizens' unreasoning fear of all things pulse. And reminders of the lower world threat still remain. Mechanical terrors brought in with the debris replace their rusting parts and wander the area while government troops struggle to contain them. While they should actually not contain but destroy them all, I'm prompting. Something tells me they're reluctant to do so. Why destroy the danger? Just the fact that world is bipolar, there is good and evil, there is no reason to pursue the destruction of evil. It is not possible to destroy the evil, that just let it get loose. Just set it loose. The pulse fallacy buried in Bodom may have arrived in the same fashion, sleeping away in the years until its eventual discovery. With lower world terrors lurking in every shadow, Saz creeps forward doing his best to shield Vanille and Hope. And yeah, I was trying to do my best, and still I did not correct the mistakes of 3-star battle, thanks very much. I will remember that. Not really damages my self-esteem, but I want the damn answers. Lightning says little of her feelings, fugitives in futility. Yeah, but Saz senses her he senses her frustration. So if he did sense it, why did he like, blah 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 blah, why are you talking in such words, Lightning? If he knew of her frustration, why wouldn't he tell her? Why wouldn't he try to reason her? He was kind of... Oh yeah, it's because he's frustrated himself, right? Now that we know he was in despair. I did not face that while playing, I just pick it up from the reading section. Since he was in despair, that's probably correct. He couldn't have helped Lightning anyway. Despite braving the dangers of the Purge and the Vestige in an effort to save her sister, Lightning was helpless to prevent Sarah's transformation into crystal. Good thing he's not Seath, at least. Now she's forced to flee as a fugitive, a pulseless and hated enemy of Cocoon. Oh yeah, this is why I feel for Lightning, and under these circumstances she still has to do something about the situation, and she doesn't even choose to run like Saz and Vanille. That takes some courage. And then there is their focus. If they don't complete the task they have yet to figure out, they face transformation into a mindless Seath. Should they fulfill their focus, eternal crystal slumber is the only reward. Yeah, that's really Hobson's choice. That's nothing. I would continue my life if I had the choice. That's the tough call. I'm not a religious person, so I don't value things like, ooh, you'll be granted eternity and everything. Maybe we will be granted eternity after turning into crystal, but who cares? Saz actually asked the question, wonder how it feels being a crystal. Nobody has lived to tell the story, so is there a big difference? I'm not sure. And should they stop too long to ponder their fate, they risk capture and execution at the hands of the relentless Sanctum army. Yeah, exactly so. All roads seem to lead to despair, something Saz understands only too well. The question is, will Lightning help them find a way out of their hopeless situation? No, she is frustrated herself. She's not helpful at this point. She has her own dilemmas. She has her own conflicts in mind, so... Nay, you're not supposed to rely on others. Yeah. Unbeckoned. What? No, I don't like this world and this word. No. Okay, this is how I feel when I don't know words I'm reading. Unbeckons to Saz The answer has already begun to form in her mind. Huh? What is the answer? We just don't know it yet. Eden or bust. Really, it's like a Halo Paradise. Lightning makes a decision. Yeah, that's the answer she had. The Pulse Fal'Cie transformed her and Sarah into l'Cie. The Sanctum Fal'Cie, Eden, directs the army hunting her down. Pulse or Sanctum Fal'Cie means one thing to Lightning, an enemy responsible for ruining their lives. A clear-cut enemy is something she can deal with. Ah, now this is her thought process. That's a nice thing to know. Having a target is something she can understand. Oh yeah, so as a soldier and as a person. That's right. It is always difficult to act if you don't have the goal, if you don't have the steps, if you don't have the plan, if you don't have anything, like you understand that you are supposed to act. When a person understands he or she is supposed to act, but doesn't understand how, it's the worst situation. It's like uncertainty creeps in, low self-esteem as a consequence, then all sorts of psychological traumas can be inflicted on the person. So that's bad. You should always have some goal, something to do. Worst thing is when you stop. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's my thought process. This is how I view this. So, yeah. The former soldier means to infiltrate the Sanctum capital and take out the fal'Cie Eden. Just the way she destroyed Anima, I believe. She knows her plan is reckless. It could be disastrous for Cocoon, and flies in the face of Sarah's last wish. It could even end in battle against Snow, who will do anything to save Cocoon. But it is the only path that will satisfy her rage. And he's enraged too. So bad. So bad. It's not going to be well enough. This is not going to lead into any success, even if she destroys the fal'Cie as plans. Saz and Vanille oppose her idea, but Hope embraces the opportunity. This is his chance to grow stronger and finally confront Snow. Yeah, and Hope is only led with the prospect of confronting Snow, and this is the only goal of his. And he's kind of grasping at straws. He's grasping at this last goal because, yeah, as I have already said, having no goal and it's lights out and it's game over. At least something you should have something. You should have something as a guiding light, even if it's a red, fiery, raging light of anger. But it is still better. Like if you remember Terminator 3, I mean the movie. What was that? Anger is more productive than despair. Yeah. The Terminator was given a basic psychological treatment program. Yeah, that's the philosophy here. Lightning is done running away. Now she runs forward, her mind set on toppling the Sanctum. But even Lightning cannot foresee how this journey will end. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. But nobody cares. What if Hope gets in? What if Hope dies? It will be her responsibility then. She encouraged him. Hope makes a choice to fight alongside Lightning, but quickly finds himself exhausted by the pace. Thunderous hooves. Yeah. It's like Wuthering Heights? Or something. Yeah, I don't know. Lightning grows ever more agitated. Their enemy is the Sanctum army. She cannot afford to look after the struggling Hope while she faces such a dangerous foe. Losing all patience, Lightning curses his weakness and tries to leave him behind. Well, it's not because the army of Sanctum is strong. More importantly, it's because she is in despair herself. She's not 100% sure that she's doing the right thing. She only understands that as long as you have the goal, you can survive, but she does not even think about that being right or wrong. So, it must be knowing her from the inside, I think. Like a rat in her head. So she cannot afford being a babysitter for another person with even more struggle inside the head. So that's the reason. And just Sanctum Army being strong is the reason for just for the sake of saying some reason. The true reason lies behind, which I have verbalized. In that moment, her Lassie brand burns with radiant pain. Oh yeah, I remember that. As if to strike down obstacles in Lightning's path, the Eidolon, Odin, appears and attacks the bewildered Hope. Oh yeah, was he not supposed to attack Lightning? I just hope so, but probably they are angry and hostile up until you kind of claim the power over them. So, yeah, that was tough. That was in no words tough. Lightning moves without thinking. She blocks the deadly blade aimed at the boy she meant to abandon moments before. Oh yeah, now you're thinking. It's like you want to abandon him and not actually caring about the dangers around, and now the danger has come. Oh yeah, I have suddenly got the idea. Lightning defeats Odin and brings the entity under her command. With a very heroic battle. That was valiant. Why did the Eidolon appear in the first place? Oh, we don't know why they appear. Yet. Probably they appear during the worst psychological crises and the toughest choices. Well, when the person has the toughest choice and the psychological crisis escalates to the maximum degree, Eidolons pop up. Maybe it somehow is connected to the psychology. I'm not sure, but that's what seems to me. There is no answer to her question, but one thing is certain. She no longer wishes to leave Hope to survive on his own. And she doesn't have the choice to. She did not prevent him from going, from tailing, from tagging along. So she did not have the choice. She should have left him from the get-go with Saz and Vanille if she wanted to, but she let him. So that's the final point. So there was no reason abandoning him again. What she did, that's kind of really a bad thing to do. There's a child and you abandon him. I cannot babysit the child, so let the child die in the vile peaks. Around the metal crap, with nothing to eat, with nothing to help him survive. That's kind of cruel, Lightning. Why? I mean, the psychological trauma in her must be really deep if she can do this. Yeah, okay. Loathing and fear. Saz and Vanille decide against joining Lightning in her vendetta against Sanctum. Though, doing so leaves them without a road to follow. So yeah, they did not have any goal. This is why I did not side with them. This is why I like them as characters, but I would go with Lightning and Hope. So yeah, at least because of that. It's terrible when you don't know what to do and when you just simply don't know what even to choose. It seems all they can do is keep running. For the remainder of their lives, not really. They will get caught eventually. That's I mean, even if Lightning has like a little percent, incredibly not notable, like 1/100 of 8% at success, Saz and Vanille have 0, because they don't even know what their success would be. And then there is Hope to worry about, but he'll surely grow tired of the fighting and make his way home, won't he? No, he won't! Hasn't he said he's not interested in returning home? Saz also harbors another fear. With the entirety of Cocoon in an uproar over the recent Pulse activity, any incident involving l'Cie could spark a full-scale panic. After all, not even Saz can shake his dread of the lower world. He's still afraid. Even though he's a Pulse l'Cie, he's afraid of the lower world too. That's reasonable. He's just an ordinary citizen of Cocoon, just like everybody else. If Cocoon is to know peace, he argues, l'Cie, like them, all need to die. Well, probably, but they don't know their focus. Maybe they don't have to destroy Cocoon. I mean, l'Cie wants to destroy Cocoon, the Pulse l'Cie, that is. That's the approach of the Sanctum. That's the approach of Cocoon government. That's what they say. Why should they know the truth about this? Have they been l'Cie? And judging by the fact that only Eden, as a FLC, can talk to people, how should those people know? They have been at war with Pulse, but this war happened 500 years ago. It's like there was a great war, World War II against Nazis. That doesn't mean we should all be afraid of German people. It's one idiotic thing to do. It's like, this is Nazism in its core already. It's like you are labeling the race or the country as evil. That means you are a Nazi already, aren't you? I mean, you cannot just label something as evil without the reasons to do that just because of the history teaches us so. The history teaches slavery as well. We're not supposed to enslave people. Anyway. Okay, I'm going too far from the plot of the game, just because I want to talk about that a little bit more sometimes. Yeah, even as the words pass his lips, he immediately regrets giving voice to such sentiments, suddenly aware of his companion's feelings on the matter. But Vanille just smiles bravely and urges Saz to keep on moving. It's about the moment when he says, not all the l'Cie are that bad, and Vanille kind of say, gee, thanks! Yeah, I remember that. They have to stay ahead of the army if they want to survive. That's right. Cold, hard fact. As Lightning and the others make their way through the Vile Peaks, Snow is escorted aboard the airship. Oh, sorry, I'm hiccuping on the way because of too much talking. Yeah, Snow is escorted aboard the airship Lindblom after his capture at Lake Brescia. Yeah, that's what I want to read about because I don't seem to have understood a thing. What are the relations between Snow and that lady? Is Snow a prisoner or is he not? His captors are members of a Wide Area Response Brigade, otherwise known as the Cavalry. Okay. The Cavalry is not directly involved with the purge or the tracking down of l'Cie. Nevertheless, their commander, Brigadier General Rains, calmly explains the reasons behind the Sanctum and PSICOM operations and their plans to hold a public execution. So they transport Snow to execute him? If the l'Cie are killed in plain sight of the populace, he asserts, the panic threatening the stability of their society will be diffused. Are Rains and the Cavalry also tools of the Sanctum? Well, that's the question. That's what I'm trying to pick from this. And who is the woman who works with them? Being a l'Cie. Being a Pulse l'Cie, I wager, judging by her mark. Isn't she a Pulse l'Cie, an enemy of Cocoon? Yes, that's what I'm asking too. Full of questions and unsure of his captor's motives, Snow recalls another time when he felt this powerless. A time when one cold fact robbed him of the strength to stand. It was the moment when he learned that his beloved Sarah was a pulselessee. Yeah, I understand how terrible it was for him, but he should have calmed her first and then dealt with the situations. Like every time you're faced with something hard, just stop rushing. Stop being hot-headed. Like, sit down on a chair, cross your hands, and say, okay, let me think. What can I do? You may even deliberately slow down the torrent of words of yours, just because you want to keep it slow. If you still have time, at least like, if you are not pointed a gun at, so you just go ahead and try reasoning. Try evaluating the situation first and get rashy afterwards, only if necessary. Separate paths. If l'Cie were machines, they would seek to complete any focus without question, but l'Cie are human, and no human willingly desires the slavery imposed by a fal'Cie. Oh, I didn't know that. That sounds reasonable, of course. Saz and Vanille support each other in their desperate flight. What is their focus? They are scarred. Oh, they're scared, not scarred, but scarred as well by the multiple monsters several times. Especially Vanille died a couple times, I remember, during this period of fights. Yeah, scared to even contemplate the answer to that question. Well, yeah, sometimes things get too hard that you are not even in the shape to think over them. That is the thing I do understand too. Just stop being that straightforward, saying, oh, we all should be this, we all should be that. We all should be strong, we all should. There are multiple things we all should, but apparently the world is not perfect yet, so nobody is doing everything they should. Being it a sad fact or just a cold fact, no matter. It is pretty understandable, that's what I stand for. I don't really approve, but I don't disapprove either, I just understand this. Snow, by contrast, chooses to pursue his objective without hesitation, not because he wants to obey a fal'Cie, but because it is Sarah's wish. Well, that's the best reason so far, I think. Well, if we find heroes, if we look for heroes, if I choose somebody to justify, like everybody has trouble and either they act out of just the fact that they should act, or they act because they have nothing to do and at least they should run. But Snow has the best goal possible, and it is based on his own life experience, it is based on his feelings, it is based on his choice, and it has some grounds behind that. So probably Snow is so far the best psychologically trained guy, even though it's quite accidental and I know for sure that he's no more psychologically developed than the others, but he just happens to be in a better shape so far. But speaking about more material things, not psychology, not philosophy, his situation is worse because out of all the others, he's the only one who got captured. Yep. Dilemmas, even more dilemmas, ladies and gentlemen. Very well then. He believes without the slightest shred of doubt that his focus is to protect Cocoon. Lightning and Hope, meanwhile, choose to fight. They turn their anger against an unjust fate and the world hostile to their very existence. The Sanctum, the government, and the PSICOM, and the entirety of Cocoon, that is, at least the Cocoon fal'Cie. On their way to Eden, at the very heart of Cocoon, fighting and Lightning and Hope prepare to enter a military-controlled zone known as Gapra Whitewood. We also have one thing of Chapter 5. Let's just begin with that. Rejecting the fate chosen for her by the foul sea and set on exhausting oh man, sorry. Let me just catch my breath a little bit. Okay. Rejecting the fate chosen for her by the foul sea and set on exacting revenge on her cold-blooded government, Lightning enters the Gapra Whitewood, along with Hope. It seems they've managed to lose their SciComm trackers, but the Whitewood is a Sanctum military zone, and their chances of encountering hostile units are high. Yet, what choice do they have? It's the only road that leads to the Sanctum capital. Okay. We'll try to battle through whatever they throw at us, having no choice. Okay, there being no alternative. Just try standing in our way, Sanctum troops. We'll mash you against the floor. Lightning now intends to fight on Hope's behalf after Odin's appearance forces her to rethink her decision to leave the boy behind. But she isn't the only one to have had a change of heart. Having relied on Lightning for protection from the beginning, Hope resolves not to flinch from danger, choosing instead to put himself squarely in the line of fire. Well, he learns to be a hero. Probably. Or he learns to be a lessee. Let's just put it that way. Sensing the shift in his attitude, Lightning entrusts the lead to her young companion. Well, that's interesting. They still have tough choices and tough fights to encounter, but she leaves the command into the hands of a 12-year-old boy. I just think he's 12, I'm not sure, but something around that. She definitely has more experience, but she has a wish for Hope to learn. That's why probably she still kind of leads, but she wants him to practice. Well, that's a dubious case, because is this the place and the situation for a practice? Not really sure of that. But anyway, someone should lead. Because Lightning really must have this army mentality of a sort. So yeah, probably this is what's behind this. Okay, what else do we have so far? I usually pick the 13 days next. Oh, there is a lot of stuff. Okay. So, it all began with, I'm guessing, the mother and the son. Well, it doesn't really matter what it all began with. Residents of Palumpolum, Hope and his mother came to Bodom to see the fireworks display. That same night, SciComm discovered the Pulse Fal'Cie slumbering within the vestige. The following day, the Sanctum announced the discovery and sealed off the entire district of Bodom. Trapped by the quarantine and unable to return home, mother and son are forced to join the other victims of the Purge. Yeah, it's just a recap. We have already learned everything possible about this. The warning here. What happened to Lightning during the fireworks? Assigned to security detail during the fireworks display in Bodom. Oh, she was on duty that day. Nice. That's always nice to do. It's like everything is on holiday, everybody's on holiday enjoying the fireworks, and you have to work. Oh man. Alright. So, Lightning was suddenly released from duty by her superior, Lieutenant Amadar. SciComm had found something in the nearby vestige. So he decided to, set her free as far as she could be from this, because maybe he anticipated the upcoming events, but Lightning was already, knee-deep knee-deep in all this mess, unfortunately. Lightning immediately thought of the accident that took place at the energy plant 6 days earlier. Voicing her concern that that the incidents may be pulse-related, Lightning's questions were deflected by the lieutenant, who advised her to avoid anything that involves the lower world. But even so, he confirms her words one way or another. I remember that. He just said, yeah, you just better keep your nose away out of Psychom business, out of everything pulse-related, because nothing will come of it, nothing but grief. And then, that's what Lightning... that's how Lightning decided to solve the situation. She just decided to board the train. Oopsie! After discovering that Sarah was being held captive by the Pulse Fal'Cie, Lightning volunteered herself to be purged. The Fal'Cie was to be transported away from Cocoon along with the purged deportees. Lightning needed to board the train and reach the lower world entity before Sarah was taken beyond her reach. Saz too had his reasons for approaching Lightning and joining her as she headed for the Pulse Fal'Cie. But what were those reasons? We don't know yet. The train carried them away, bound for the restricted area or restricted zone known as the Hanging Edge, with the plans to kill them all in a very savage manner. The revelation. Sarah was to overcome curiosity when she saw the doors of the vestige wide open for the first time. She wandered inside and was branded by the Pulse Fal'Cie. Just out of curiosity. Really? Yeah, that's kind of childish thing. There is like, for example, in my city there is a Kremlin, which is the fortress surrounding the area, the city in prehistoric times. Well, not prehistoric. In the beginning of this existence, the city was limited to this area that is now surrounded by the Kremlin. And a lot of people are really out of curiosity, always are trying to climb the walls or get inside to see what it looks like from the inside. So yes, if there was a Fal'Cie or some kind of ancient entity, if there was some kind of fantasy in my city, that very well might have happened, but it's really a bad luck. And in this case, the word bad is not exactly picturing the situation in the necessary manner. It's just even worse than bad. Yeah. Unable to tell Lightning that she had become a l'Cie, Sarah eventually revealed her painful secret to Snow 4 days later. Unwilling to see him suffer the same fate, the young woman tried to break off their relationship, but Snow chased after her and swore to help complete her focus, whatever it may be. Well, yeah, that's the question of love relations. Like, I have always thought that if you love a person, you should be together with that person in everything. It's like, if you love the person, it's not like you can say, ooh, I don't like what you're doing, just get away, screw yourself up, I am not even meddling in this. Like, if she's a l'Cie, then that's the way to go. Snow must go with her. Or there is a breakdown between them. But yeah, I mean, that's the tough choice. People are not responsible for that, but love is something, like, who ever obliges anybody to love? There is no obligation for this. People only choose to love or not to love. Nobody punishes them for not loving anybody, right? So, if you love, then you choose to be with the person. Then you choose to share everything the person suffers and achieves. And everything the person has to tell you about. Like, if you're supposed to be always together if you love each other, then I think that's the way to go. If you choose something, then just stick to this choice or not choose at all. That's it. This is why I like this kind of relations. This is what I like. This is really epic. This is really the way to go, which is not always even possible. So this is kind of the idealized image of love. But if you can follow it, then you'd better do, because this is kind of heroic. This is something you should pursue. Okay. And day 5. What happened at Uriday? Uride. I mean, thanks for verbalizing it before I read this. So it's Uriday Gorge plant. There was an accident at the Uriday Gorge energy plant located near the seaside community of Bodum. So it's kind of a local plant. Okay. Details of the accident were not released to the public, but the lack of information sparked widespread conjecture among the populace. Oh yeah, I do understand that. Like, if something like that happens, people start talking, you cannot stop that. Rumors began to circulate about the act of sabotage by Pulse Lassie, sending a whisper of panic through a society that has lived in terror of lower world invasion for centuries. And this lower world invasion threat was fed by the government throughout all this time. That's what is so important here. If you want to add all the information everybody remembers, then this is also supposed to be added here, I think. History and myth. We got 2 more notes here. The War of Transgression, the war with Pulse. Several hundred years ago, the armies of Pulse attempted to invade Cocoon in a conflict known today as the War of Transgression. The Sanctum's fal'Cie were able to repel the lower world forces before they breached Cocoon's interior, but not before they managed to seriously damage areas lying near the world's outer rim. The Cocoon's shell, that is, also known as Cocoon's shell. Details surrounding the clash remain shrouded in mystery, but the government's swift and decisive response to this violent Pulsian transgression minimized casualties and greatly boosted public faith in both the Sanctum and their fal'Cie. Yeah, this is how it is done. It's like when somebody's in trouble, you come in, do something to help the person, and this is how you just give cheap respect. You just simply have to be in the right place in the right time and do merely just something, not really have to do much. I mean, the fal'Cie, they do have all the power. What's the purpose? I mean, they just simply have stopped the war. And then they started to brainwash the people of Cocoon, like, we are heroes, we can protect you, we can do everything. Yeah, I do understand that. The question is why the war happened in the first place. And I also do understand that there were fal'Cie on the side of Pulse as well. So it was kind of the war between the fal'Cie too. That must have been some magnificent scenery there. But, yeah, nevertheless, details surrounding the clash remain shrouded in mystery, but the government's swift and decisive response to this violent Pulsian transgression... Yeah, okay, we have already read that, sorry for repetition. Lower world artifacts. In the aftermath of the War of Transgression, regions near Cocoon's outer rim were left uninhabitable due to the severe trauma they had sustained. To undo this damage, the fal'Cie gathered materials from the surface of Pulse and rebuilt Cocoon's wounded landscape using them. That wasn't that aesthetic, I should say, if they do. Aren't they local gods? So if they are, they could as well just do something aesthetic about this. They just grabbed some crap and piled it over, and that's all they did. This is why I say that this doesn't seem like a heroic deed or something. It seems underdone. It seems deliberately done to brainwash people in the first place. Okay, I see that, and I do understand. Yeah, and I do also appreciate the way the plot and the story of the game are designed, because we can understand that from these phrases already. Yeah, Bodom was the only city so affected, and like the others, it still bears lingering traces of post-war reconstruction in the form of lower world artifacts. Yeah, leftover lower world artifacts. The pulse vestige that hid a dormant fal'Cie was one such artifact. Yeah, that literally was. So what do we have here? Eden is the capital of Cocoon. This city, Cocoon's capital, shares its name with its fal'Cie patron. Host of the world's centers of culture and government, it functions as the heart of human society on Cocoon. At the city's core rises the monumental Eden Hall, seat of the Sanctum's administration. The fal'Cie Eden dwells deep within the structure's interior. Oh, so that means it's going to be a really tough battle for Lightning to get inside. They will throw all sorts of things at her, should she enter. Hope's hometown, Palampolum. The one of the biggest cities of Cocoon. Retail stores line the streets, a rarity in a society where online purchases are the norm. Why it is a rarity then? I mean, it is nice that if the online purchases are the norm, it's a nice thing that there are a lot of stations outside in the streets where you could just normally do the same, but while walking. It's alright, especially if it is a busy city, a city with a great population. That's natural. Why should it be a rarity? Whatever you say, with the goal of prompting their hands-on approach to commerce. As a tourist attraction, the local government actively encourages business to set up shop in Palampolum. Okay, so it's kind of a capital of commerce or something, maybe. And judging by the picture, the city is also a coastal city, so it might be a great tourism center as well. Yep, that sounds reasonable. All I can say. The Gapra Whitewood is where we are currently. Is the border zone that separates the wilderness of the Wild Peaks from the civilization of Palampolum. Under the jurisdiction of the Sanctum Military, the Whitewood serves as an experimental facility for conducting research into bioweapons. Ah, so this is where those Pantherons are made, and probably not only just Pantherons, probably the Behemoths too. I mean, those Alpha, Beta Behemoths we were fighting. Now I'm already picking the information about what enemies I can face further on. And actually it's curious that in this society it is normal to make bioweapons from animals. Like, who needs animals? Let's just make cybernetic bots of them. You just might as well make just pure robots. Why do you need animal bodies for that? Yeah. Probably they just want to preserve the obedience of a robot and a savageness of an animal. That's what I think. The security of this classified area is built into its design. The paths winding through the trees are deliberately confusing, causing intruders to become hopelessly lost. Oh, so intricate. Aren't the soldiers supposed to be lost here as well? Should they navigate, if they try. I actually don't see many soldiers here, so that must be a territory kind of crawling with random beasts. Most likely. Some more information about Cocoon Society here too. Oh yeah, this is the Wide Area Response Brigade holding Snow captive right now. The Wide Area Response Brigade is a Guardian Corps unit commanded by Brigadier General Sid Raines. The brigade is more famous for its unofficial name, the Cavalry. A mobile unit without a designated jurisdiction, the cavalry patrols the uninhabited expanses between cities, ready to respond to emergency situation at a moment's notice. So this is what they are needed for. It's like the separated brigade for any urgent issues. For this purpose, the brigade commands a cruiser-class airship, the sole exception in the Guardian Corps. And that cruiser-class ship is called Lindblom. Yeah, that's it. Due to the expansive area it patrols and the need for mobility, the Wide Area Response Brigade has no fixed base. Oh, it also serves as their base. Wow, that's resourceful. That's nice. The Lindblom is the command ship of the brigade and serves as both home and headquarters for its soldiers. It is heavily armed and armored for a Guardian Corps craft, but is easily outclassed by the anti-pulse gunships built for the main SciComm fleet. Judging by those sky tanks, I think that Lindblom ship looks a lot more aesthetic, a lot more pretty than those under-designed tanks. Those look like tanks. I mean, if you remember those ships from which the soldiers were dropped down to catch snow, but I'm not really sure. I didn't see this Lindblom ship out in the sky during those cutscenes, so I'm not even sure. But I also remember the ships that were bombarding the Hanging Edge, if you ask me. Like the one that was shot by Hope's mother. Yeah, I mean those ones. Those ones are really, really too simplified. Those do like the military ones, and this one is too intricate for any military ship, I think. We got some more primers. I thought I have dealt with all of them. Probably it's because we got some, yeah, for equipment upgrade. What is this? Synthesized abilities. There is still something to read, but I really don't think it's all that necessary. You can also read about every role separately over here, something that you have not been given after the general tutorials. Also, you can recap all the information about summoning and three-way battles, everything we have been through during this long chapter. And finally, we got 2 more characters in the game. Let's start with Amodar here. Amodar is a lieutenant in the Bodum Security Regiment and was Lightning's direct superior, climbing his way through the ranks with persistence and hard work. He is respected by his subordinates and his fair treatment on and off the field of battle. So he's kind of a kind, strict but reasonable lieutenant. Okay. Nora's unregulated monster hunting falls under... Nora's unregulated monster hunting falls under his jurisdiction. But aside from a few warnings for the sake of formality, he generally turns a blind eye to the group's earnest efforts. Well, that's interesting, because that group basically keeps the official soldiers, such as him, out of work. They take care of monsters willingly. They also don't hurt people, and probably they had several... Well, they would help against any criminals should the need arise, so Yeah, I think those are taking the work from the officials, and unofficially, Mr. Amadar must be grateful for them. So this is why he is turning a blind eye, because he can have his rest finally while Nora guys are working. And Sid Reigns. A typical cute Japanese type Mr. Sid Reigns. He is the commander of the Wide Area Response Brigade, as we already know, a military unit otherwise known as cavalry. This is what we know too. While lacking the sheer firepower of PSICOM, the cavalry is considered one of the most elite groups within the Guardian Corps. Well, yeah, I can understand that. As a brigadier general of the Sanctum Army, Reigns should stand ready to repel the forces of Pulse. However, he seems to be seeking out the fugitive lessee and taking them captive to some end that remains to be seen. Ah, so he's not up to executing anybody, I think. It would have been strictly pointed at otherwise. So it's not execution, for which I can assume he, Mr. Reigns, has his own goals and his own priorities, even though he's an official person. Okay, this is getting more and more interesting. So, yeah, congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. We have finished everything data log related. Finally! Just to be able to travel onwards without anything behind. It's as though there is a lot of papers being stuck in the backpack behind me, and now I can like throw all those papers outside and burn them for good, so that my so that my backpack is lighter right now, so that I can travel faster and easier. Oh yeah, this is the way I feel right now. But as well, I definitely got a lot of interesting information from the data log. Something that I couldn't have picked from the gameplay and from the cutscenes. So yes, it was definitely educative, if I may invent that word. Some educational information there is in the data log. So we'll be saying goodbye to each other up until the following episode of Final Fantasy XIII on ANZ, where I will be invading the Gapra Whitewood and delivering massive blows to everybody who stands in front of me. And I also hope Lightning joins in as well, so I could test the Eidolon powers on random monsters. And for now, I'm signing out. I'll be seeing you next time.